Welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pen Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome back to the Pen Leader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about guiding the financial journey. And I have with me today Ms. Jennifer Panczyszyn, who is a financial advisor with Edward Jones and have served in the financial services industry for more than 20 years. She has several partnerships with other professionals in the Northwest Ohio area where they assist with all aspects of financial strategies. Jennifer is passionate about helping empower people from all backgrounds to be in control of their finances, no matter who they are or what they do. She has both her bachelor's and master's degrees, as well as an accredited behavioral financial professional or ABFP designation, and a chartered retirement planning counselor or what they call CRPC designation. Jennifer is also the founder of JJ Safe House, which is a domestic violence shelter specifically for Fulton County residents, which has given her the opportunity to give back to the community that helped raise her. So I'm so excited about having her with me. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Dr. Gore. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. And your leadership, again, coming from that customer service, community engagement is so very powerful, and I'm not sure, it's one of those things when you talk about clients and how you're helping them, like pull in some of those pieces to be leaders in their own financial goals. What do you talk with your clients, how aligning their financial goals with their personal values? And, again, especially in terms of vision, how do you do that?
Well, my first appointment, typically with a prospect, we spend about 45 minutes and I'm just interviewing them, asking them questions. What is important to them? What are their goals? Bucket list is a really good question that I ask them, and that typically spurs a lot of thoughts. And then we go a little bit further with, estate planning and tax planning and things like that. I can only be as good as an advisor as they're willing to share with me, right? So it's really important that we spend that quality time together, and then just setting the expectations of what do they need from me, right? What matters to them? And then I also will tell them what my expectations are, what I need for them to do to participate in being a client of mine. It has to be a relationship that we're both in it together. I do say all the time, go interview your financial advisor, your financial planner, interview them, right? You interview a lot of people. You talk to your doctors, you ask for referrals, things like that. Same with your financial planner, your financial advisor. Interview them. Like, I want a client to interview me because once we commit to one another, the idea is that I'm going to follow you throughout the rest of your life and get you to all of your goals. And we are going to spend a lot of time together.
Well, it sounds like you might be hitting on what might be a possible common mistake if people are not doing that. But can you talk about what common mistakes you are seeing and then how can they be avoided?
Yeah, the biggest common mistake is waiting too long. Yeah. I hear that a lot. I'm going to pay off these bills and then I'm going to. Or I've got student loans and I want to pay these off before. That is not the best plan at all. There is a time value of money, number one, right? And so those two things can happen consecutively together. Second one is I'll do it by myself, which you can spend a lot of time on the internet determining what is the best mutual fund, what is the best stock. Everyone can do that. But the part that's missing is the financial advisor, financial planner should be coming in and sharing with you all those parts that you can't just Google. One of the biggest mistakes I will see is people will open up their 401k and maybe have a little bit of life insurance, and then they're trying to do a savings account, and then they just park it and leave it. One of the biggest mistakes of that piece is, let's say you decide you're going to retire at 57. Well, your 401k you can only access at 59 and a half, right? Or you have a penalty. Or you max out your 401k, you retire at 60, and now all of your income is taxable. So there is some absolute planning that goes into that. And then third one is embarrassed about their financial choices. Listen, life happens. We have a no judgment zone in our office. There are 4 of us in my office, and there is no judgment. We all have life experiences. Things happen, and we make choices, sometimes not the best choices, but in our office, our whole plan is to help you with your choices, turn them around and make some better ones for yourself. So don't be embarrassed.
I think about this, what you just said about, again, it's a leadership part of taking control of your finances. What's the biggest difference between simply managing money and truly planning for financial wellness and then ultimately a legacy that you want to leave behind?
Yeah. So it's kind of going back to what I just said, turning on a 401k and the life insurance and parking it. That's managing money, right? If you want a whole financial wellness program, then you're meeting with someone that's covering all the other aspects, your tax planning, your estate planning, your wealth transfer. How are you going to educate your children? And I think I want to talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind, the education of your children. I still will hear parents say, well, my parents weren't able to help me, and it helped me. I was able to go to college and do it by myself. Things have changed tremendously today on the expectations of a parent when it comes to funding education. The FAFSA form has to be filled out. There are pieces that they're going to come back and say, as a parent, you make this much money, we are expecting you to participate in this much of their education. So you don't ever want to be caught in that spot where you're saying hands off, but then your children have a lot less options, and most parents don't want that, right? Planning for education is a big piece of what we do. I think it's really important. Here's the other thing. People are waiting longer to have children. And so you definitely do not want to be caught at 55 or 60 trying to get your children through college and then trying to plan for your retirement at the same time, which goes right back to please don't wait, right? It needs to start when you become employed. And even if it's only once every other year that you're with a financial advisor in the beginning, just make sure you do it.
That goes to thinking about timing in your life. There's different aspects of when things hit. When you're talking about financial advisors now as acting as leaders to help guide you, right? Especially times of uncertainty when it hits. Market downturns, economic shifts, and you've seen it because you've got more than 20 years experience. You've seen how it hits. In what ways do you think that the financial advisor can help guide that? Because again, you talked a little bit about, I can do it, but it's not going to be in the best interest of myself to do it by myself.
Yeah. First off is us being proactive. Listen, every 3 to 5 years, we have a pullback in the market, 10 to 15%. If we finish this year out strong, we will be on year 3 of being up, right? So what does that tell you? Now, there's no guarantees in anything, right? We cannot project what the market's going to do or predict. However, every 3 to 5 years, historically, we'll see a pullback. So it is my job to make sure I'm on the phone with clients. It's also my job to set those expectations up at every appointment that we're having that conversation, right? Your annual reviews or just having a conversation on the phone of what's going on. Being empathetic on what their situation looks like. Just because the stock market is doing well and the economy seems to be fairly strong right now doesn't mean an individual isn't struggling. So being proactive, and that is being a leader, being proactive, being empathetic, and really listening to what is concerning them and having some solutions for them. At the end of the day, I can lead people and give them choices, but they need to make those for themselves. And they need to feel good about the choices that they can make, right? That's what being a real leader is, whether you're in the finance world or in some other shape of a corporation.
Yeah, making those hard decisions, and you could see people who struggle with it. They are in a leadership position, but they've got to they've got to deliver some bad news, or there's a major change coming, and you don't know how are people going to react to it. How does the leadership influence the way you build trust? Because what I'm also hearing here is a level of trust, especially money is the resource that keeps people going, especially with their lifestyle and how is that lasting relationships with your clients, and how is that impactful?
So leadership sometimes is about stepping back, right? And letting the client lead. And at the end of the day, it is their money. Again, it's my job to help give them the options, but I have to build the trust and respect with them before they're going to listen to me anyway. And then empowering the client with education. I want them to have education. I want them to be able to ask questions that I can give them some power to make great choices for themselves. But at the end of the day, no matter what I have put in front of them, it is their choice. And I will never belittle somebody for taking their money or doing something different than what I think they should do, right? You give options, you let them make choices, you empower them.
Mm-hmm. Thinking to myself about having a conversation with someone who is struggling right now. Maybe they're listening and they're saying, I really don't know if I can do a set aside of amount of money to do this. What are you recommending with setting aside some money if they're not paying into a 401k?
Okay. If they're not participating in a 401 or a 403B and they have the option to do that, I'm going to send them every single time right back to it. I will. For convenience, for cost, and typically for the extra contribution that they can get from their employer, right? I don't ever want them leaving free money on the table. Secondly is always paying yourself first. I know we hear that a lot. I talk about it a lot. But if you're going to Starbucks, you're paying Starbucks. So how about instead of paying Starbucks, you pay yourself? And it's changing the mindset of where you're spending that $2, $3, $4, $5. I think it's I don't even know how much it is for a cup of coffee now. $5. Let's say $5.
I think it's between $5 and $6 depending on where you are in the country right now.
Okay, so let's say it's $6. So you're giving your $6 to Starbucks. Why don't you give that $6 to you to put aside? So you do that 5 days a week, right? What do you have?
It's $30.
$30. So you just put $30 in your own bucket versus putting it in Starbucks bucket, right? I mean, I think it's just a mindset shift of where you're putting that money. Everybody typically can spare $1, even if it's $1. My first time being in the market, I literally was making $4.50 an hour. And I had this amazing boss whose name is Jeff. He's still here. I still talk to him every now
Hopefully
and again.
he's listening to the show. Hey, Jeff.
Hopefully. He's a great guy. He said, hey, kid, why are you not doing this? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. So he helped me and I was in the market. And so that's why I'm here today, is from watching that grow, watching my little dollar become $2 and $3, right? I mean, it's things like that. You don't have to start with millions. Most people don't. The majority of people start with very little, but it's building that platform, again, not waiting. Because if you can start when you're 20 versus starting when you're 30, and our whole model in our office is everyone deserves to have a financial advisor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is exactly what our model is in our office.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to just stretch a little bit here with this, because I've had individuals tell me they've got money that's either one sitting somewhere where it's actually not earning any interest, but I feel it's safer than putting it in the market. What would you advise for those individuals?
So everybody needs at least 3 to 6 months of emergency savings in an account. They do. And that means it's probably not going to make a whole lot for you, but you have it set aside. Emergencies happen. You have a bucket to go to. Outside of that, it's costing you money to leave it there, right? And the easiest explanation is this: inflation. And we hear that word a lot, but just imagine you're in Kroger grocery store with your cart 10 years ago. What were you able to put in your grocery cart and spend $100 on versus driving that grocery cart now to the register and with $100 in your hand? How much are you putting in your cart? That is the easiest explanation of inflation. So if you have $1 sitting in the bank, what it bought 10 years ago compared to what it's going to buy today, it is costing you money to leave money sit there that's not earning anything. And I know people hear that a lot, but that I think the visual of that probably will bring it a little bit more to the forefront of why it's important you don't do that.
All right. So for those who are thinking about it, now you just have to really look at that pot of money every day. And for those who are Starbucks, now I will say this: if you got stock in Starbucks, maybe you could try to justify a little bit of that, but I think your plan is the better plan.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So here comes to my fun questions for you. And I know that you do so much in this area because we've talked before, but I'd like to know, what are you reading or what are you watching?
Okay, so I am reading The Anatomy of Peace right now, and I got that from a friend of mine in the Outlier program. It is really good, and it walks you through having a loving heart and a loving mind when you're having conflict. So it's really good. I'm also studying tax planning right now for my CHFC, which is a chartered financial consultant. So it'll be another designation. It's just more complex planning. And so I'm in the tax planning portion right now, which is super hard to digest for long periods of time. The other thing is I just watched The Unknown Number on Netflix. It is the most incredible, crazy show I've ever watched, and it is so relevant about today's teenagers. I have my youngest one's a senior this year at St. Ursula, which is where Dr. Gore spends some of her time.
Yes.
And
great school.
Yeah, great school. And so her and I watched it together, and I highly recommend parents that have teenagers to watch it together. It is very impactful on what can happen with social media.
Yeah. I was wondering too, cyberbullying still is out there.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. And I wondered if that was a show with that.
Yep.
She's also one that's has ambitions to be a financial advisor. Am I right?
Oh, she does. Yep, sis, we're talking about that now. My son-in-law is also a financial advisor at our firm as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep it close, tight knit in our family.
Well, I can't thank you enough for that, and especially with what to watch and what to read. This is something that when we talk about books that help guide conversation, and because of all your background with community service too, it says a lot about how you invest your time, which I still say time is the most of all the commodities. I think it's one of the most precious, and you can't get that back.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely. So I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing that today.
Thank you. Oh, don't forget The Pin Leader. That's a great book. I've read it twice now. It's sitting on my desk. I know you know, but when I do presentations, I bring that book along and then I give it out to my audience. And so it's a great book and everybody can read it. And listen, leadership is tough. And there are some times when, you're not always a great leader and you don't always make great leadership decisions. You don't. But when you can recognize that and change it, it's books like The Pin Leader Path that can help you get back on track again. So read it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'm excited to say now you can actually listen to it too now.
That's awesome.
I had, for those that need the accessible, or if you cannot have time to pick up the book and read it, you can listen to it just like you can listen to the podcast. And so now it's on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we want to thank our listeners for your time and sharing the show. We appreciate you. If you have any feedback, please provide it at info@MaysAssociatesLTD.com. We'd also like to thank Jennifer for her sponsorship of the show. Thank you so much for all your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And of course, until next time.
The Pen Leader Podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates LTD, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader Podcast and share with others.